In recent times, people speaking openly about their health issues has become more common, more accepting. I'm glad more women are speaking up about their experiences with endometriosis. Today, in this video, I share the stories of many such sportswomen who have been through and are vocal about what they have been through with this life-changing condition. Just a quick disclaimer here. I wouldn't want anyone believing that just because there are people out there who pushed themselves through the pain and won Olympic goals or achieved high standards in the sport they are part of, that you too must push through that pain. Instead, I hope that these stories inspire anyone out there with endometriosis to get the answers and the treatments they need and deserve. So let's begin. I'll begin with Danielle Collins, a professional tennis player. Suffering since 2016, it was in April 2021, Collins had to take a break from competing in the WTA Tour when the agony of endometriosis got too much and she underwent surgery for it. As she stepped away, she was unsure of when she would be back to playing the sport. World number 40 at the time, Collins was suffering, having collapsed on the tennis court on a couple of occasions. Now, during her surgery, they removed a cyst the size of a tennis ball from her ovary, as well as material from her bowel and bladder, providing her relief from her struggles. The next challenging phase was the rehabilitation. Having had her abdominal muscles cut through, getting back on court wasn't going to be easy. This is where the right type of rehab and having a team of people helping you plays a huge role in how well that happens. Interestingly, after returning to tennis, Collins' game took off to another level in 2021. After making it to the semi-final in Budapest, she won back-to-back WTA titles in Palermo and San Jose, adding to just one previous WTA title in her career. And now what's trumped things further is Collins was the runner-up of the Australian Open in 2022. How's that for recovery? Frankly, I was really surprised that she was back on court in 2 months. But as always, we all have different bodies and are dealing with different comorbidities. Also, we all live a different lifestyle too. As an athlete, Collins had the possible benefit of having an otherwise strong body and being on the right diet. So I hope none of you watching here feel disheartened if you've not got back on your feet as quickly as Collins was. Excuse me. Personally, I wasn't. It took me a year to recover, so please work at your own pace. If you would like to know more about how my surgery went, how much it cost, how I prepared for it and recovered, then I'll link all the relevant blog posts and videos in the description box below. Now on to number 2. Emily Seebohm, Olympic swimmer. An Australian swimmer, Emily is an Olympic gold medalist, but what makes her story interesting is that it was only just before the addition of the games she realized she was suffering from endometriosis. What timing. It was the 2016 games and things weren't quite looking right for Emily, who in her own words realized that and I'm going to quote her, cramps, back pain, stomachache, irregular menstrual cycles, cravings and fatigue weren't just the result of my grueling training regime, unquote. Like many others who suffer from endometriosis, Emily was suggested this possibility a few years after she first noticed these symptoms by her gynecologist. But her issue was she couldn't undergo a surgery during an Olympic year. It could well be the end of her medal-winning dream. The grueling training made it more difficult for her, also causing question marks over whether her symptoms were a result of the illness or a natural side effect of the training. As a result of that, Emily underwent a long struggle with her symptoms for a few months. And yet, went on to win the silver medal in the 4x100 medley relay in the 2016 Games, having won a gold in 2008. It was before the 2008 Beijing Games when she realized something wasn't right, when she suffered irregular cycles, and it soon became a mental battle for Emily. Taking painkillers during a competition was difficult, and while Marina helped her for a while, things took an ugly turn when she had a bout of swine flu and her cycles returned to their previously irregular times. Emily finally had surgery after the 2016 Olympics, which have resulted in better cycles for the Aussie, while more vitally, her pain and cramping have also reduced drastically. Later on, she became the ambassador for Endometriosis Australia, a not-for-profit organization for this cause. Now, number 3, Kristie James, a cyclist. A former rower, Kristie James found her calling in cycling and later went on to win a silver medal for New Zealand, for the New Zealand team pursuit team at the 2018 Commonwealth Games. That was 2 years after doctors discovered Kristie had endometriosis. And like to most women, the diagnosis came as a huge relief to Kristie because before that, she reckoned she was going crazy. I've actually written a really interesting blog post and done a video on this titled, "Is My Pain Real or Imagined? How to Get Rid of Self-Doubt When Having a Chronic Illness." If you'd like to have a read or a watch, then I will link it in the description box below. Now back to Kristie James. It was while she was home one day that Kristie felt a sharp pain on her right side, and it sent enough panic around her for her to be immediately taken to a physiotherapist. Even as Kristie contemplated if she had torn her hip flexor muscle, the feeling went away in a jiffy. She said, and I'm quoting her, "I went from 100% pain to suddenly gone. I thought I was delusional, that I needed to see a psychologist because I'd gone crazy. I definitely thought I was crazy." Unquote. It wasn't the first time Kristie had suffered an intense pain each month, but being an athlete, she opted to bite the bullet and endure it silently rather than get it treated. That, unfortunately, took a heavy toll on her physical and mental health, and it was becoming more and more difficult for her coach to pick her in the team. What added to her woes was when Kristie decided she couldn't take it anymore and did speak to her doctors. But not too many believed her. "It looks fine," became a common phrase, like it has been the case for many women who suffer from this debilitating illness. It took a surgery to reveal she had endometriosis, and the laparoscopy helped the surgeon to scrape out all of the visible illness. Her pain was gone, but more vitally, she now thinks she isn't as insane as she had thought when she suffered from the extreme fluctuations of her symptoms. Number 4, Elinor Barker, cyclist. Well, cyclist Elinor Barker is a multiple Olympic medal winner, which includes a gold at Rio 2016, a silver at the 2020 Tokyo Games, but a list of achievements does not stop at that, with Barker having won top honors at 5 of the World Championships and a plethora of other colored medals, and at the European Championships. Wow. But it could all have been so much worse, though, with Barker admitting she was on the verge of quitting sport because of endometriosis. Like others, Elinor suffered the terrible symptoms associated with this illness, including times when the pain pulled her down so badly she wouldn't want to stand up. Barker's symptoms seemed to mirror Kristie James's, with the Welsh athlete taking a tumble one day because of pain, but once on the floor, the symptoms disappeared. What followed was something Elinor wasn't quite prepared for as a professional athlete. Speaking to the BBC, she revealed, and I quote, "Then it just started happening more and more often, closer together, until actually I felt like that for hours at a time and wouldn't be able to stand up. Unquote. What's interesting, but not surprising, is Elinor found herself at the receiving end of this illness about 18 months before the 2016 Olympics. And it wasn't until 2018 she was diagnosed with endometriosis. Battling through the pain, Elinor also went on to win the gold medal in Rio in 2016, which, given her condition, was a crazily amazing achievement. Once diagnosed, Elinor followed Emily Seebohm's tryst with endometriosis and opted to undergo surgery, which caused her to miss just 5 days of training. She is relatively pain-free now and admits she is glad to have made that call. Elinor does understand it could all return one day. She says, and I quote, "I know it's not the kind of thing that goes away, so I'm not cured. It'll gradually come back over the next few years, and I'll probably have to have surgery every 3 or 4 years if I want to live a healthy life and be training and racing." Unquote. Number 5, Monique Murphy, Paralympic swimmer. A Paralympic swimmer for Australia, Monique Murphy won the silver medal at the 2016 Rio Paralympic Games. All the athletes in this list went through their own share of suffering because of endometriosis. But in Monique Murphy, she's one who went through a lot more than just that. Because long before she struggled with this invisible illness, Monique endured a living nightmare when she fell off the balcony of the 5th floor of her university building. It took her a week of being in a coma to come back from near death, suffering a jaw break and a right foot amputation. To make matters worse, Monique has no memory of what had happened in the lead up to the fall, leading to speculations it was an attempted suicide. Meetings with a few counselors made her realize that's not what happened, and the probable cause was pinned on the spiking of her drinks at a university party. That mental shift from having lost a limb was difficult, but not as much as it might have been for some others because of the way she was raised. Sometime after the first tragedy, Monique was diagnosed with endometriosis, but even that came after changing a whopping 14 doctors. A surgery was needed, but when the problem did not go away, she had to undergo a second one when she was diagnosed with adenomyosis. Unsurprisingly, Monique had her self-doubts before she got her endo diagnosis. What if it was all in her mind? What if everyone went through the same and she just wasn't strong enough? What if she was just not cut out to become a top-level athlete? According to Murphy, the trauma of her fall and loss of a limb might have triggered the growth of endometriosis, but it took her doctors 5 years to get to that. And like most others, it was a feeling of relief. Number 6, Leah Williams, footballer. In 2021, while recovering from a hamstring injury, captain of the England's women's football team, Leah Williams, was diagnosed with endometriosis. She feared missing Euro 2022 because of a concussion she suffered just before the tournament, which led to a major endometriosis flare-up. As shared with womenshealthmag.com, Leah said she found herself on the bathroom floor unable to move. And I quote, "Before the Euros, I had a concussion, which they say can really impact your next period. And it was bad. Like, really bad. You know when you're on the bathroom floor and literally like, I can't move? When it's too late to take the tablets because I'm like in it now. I was like, it cannot happen. Like, I actually won't be able to play." Having an endometriosis flare-up is a big fear when you get to a tournament not injured. I don't change too much around my cycle now unless I'm on the floor and I'm like, I won't make it today. Unquote. She goes on to say, and I'm sure many of us will agree to this, and I quote again, I'm pretty sure if men had periods, we would have figured out a way to stop them by now without doing any damage. Unquote. Not only did Leah eventually play and lead England in the Euros, but they won the championship too. That's it. That's the story of 6 sportswomen who live with endometriosis. As I learn more, I'm sure I'll keep adding to this list, but for now, if you would like to ask me anything, then please drop in your questions in the comment section below, or if you have something to share about your endo life, then please share that too. Until next time, please do like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.